All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the surprisingly complex world hiding inside some of the most basic items you have in your house. We're going to trace the journey of a simple bottle. And believe me, it is anything but simple.
I mean, really think about it. That bottle of shampoo you used this morning, the ketchup in your fridge, the detergent sitting next to your washing machine. They seem so normal, right? But the story of how they're actually made, it's this incredible mix of logistics, chemistry, and some really, really tough puzzles. So, the secret really starts with this idea called the batch process. See, unlike a car that's built on a continuous assembly line, these kinds of liquid products are made in these huge, separate quantities called batches. The best way to think about it is like baking a cake, but a cake that's the size of a swimming pool. You mix all the ingredients, you bake it, and when it's done, you start the next one. That's the basic idea for everything from soda to shampoo.
Okay, so let's actually follow one of these products on its physical journey. On the surface, it looks pretty straightforward, breaking down into just three main stages. First up, you have formulation. This is basically the giant kitchen of the factory. All the raw ingredients get poured into these enormous mixing tanks, and they follow a recipe that has to be perfect. They get all blended together to create what the industry calls the bulk liquid, which is just a fancy term for the actual shampoo or sauce itself. After that, the finished liquid moves into storage. Now, it doesn't go straight into the bottles just yet. Nope. First, it gets moved to another massive tank. You can think of these like product waiting rooms. They're a super important buffer that lets the mixing crew keep making new batches while the filling line can work at its own speed. It's all about keeping the whole operation running smoothly. And finally, we get to the filling stage. This is where the product actually starts to look like something you'd buy. The bulk liquid is pumped from that storage tank over to a super fast filling line, where it's squirted into all those bottles or pouches. A cap gets twisted on, a label gets slapped on, and it's almost ready to go. Mix, store, fill. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? But, and this is a big but, this is where our simple story gets incredibly complicated. What happens when that factory isn't just making one thing, but maybe hundreds of different things? And this is where we run into the real heart of the challenge, the big scheduling puzzle. This is this invisible, super high-stakes game that makes the difference between a factory that runs like clockwork and one that just grinds to a halt. So let's frame the problem with a simple question. Let's say you just finished making a huge batch of shampoo. The very next thing on the schedule is conditioner. What do you have to do before you can even think about starting that next batch? And this right here, this is the core of the problem. If you're just making the same exact product, one batch after another, you get this beautiful continuous flow. It's maximum efficiency. But the second you switch to something different, everything stops. You have to shut it all down for a massive cleaning and setup process. Every single tank, every single pipe has to be perfectly clean, and every single minute you spend on this setup, you're not making product. It is pure expensive downtime. And the scale of this is just mind-boggling. We're not talking about switching between two or three things. A single factory could be making hundreds of different items. We're talking different formulas, dozens of bottle sizes, special packaging, those little refill pouches. Every single one is another piece you have to fit into this giant, complicated puzzle. So to solve this puzzle, a production scheduler has to juggle this unbelievable number of constraints. You can think of them as the rules of the game. And here's the crazy part. A lot of these rules completely contradict each other. Okay, rule number one, and this is the big one. You absolutely, positively cannot have contamination. You can't make a floral-scented lotion right after a citrus-scented one without a serious deep clean. If you mix even a little bit of the residue, you could ruin the whole batch, or even worse, cause a dangerous chemical reaction. Safety and quality are everything. But then you've got rule number two, which says the complete opposite. To be efficient, you should group similar products together. If you're making citrus-scented detergents, you should run the lemon one, then the lime, then the orange all in a row. Why? Because that massively cuts down on that cleaning and setup time. So, you see the conflict? Rule 1 says keep things separate. Rule 2 says group them together. What do? And that's just the start. On top of all that, you have to hit every single customer delivery deadline, no excuses. You have to figure out which of your many tanks is best for each product. You have to manage the tank levels, can't be too full, can't be too empty. You have to deal with weird piping that means only certain filling lines can connect to certain tanks. You even have to time refills perfectly so you don't suck air into the pipes. It is just an overwhelming number of things to keep track of all at once.
So this all leads us to the big question. How on earth do you solve a problem this complex? Well, for decades, the answer was just human experience. But that's starting to change. And this really sums it up perfectly. It's a giant puzzle that is, for all practical purposes, impossible for a person to solve in the best way possible. Sure, a veteran scheduler with 20 years of experience can use their gut feeling to come up with a good enough plan. But finding the truly optimal, most efficient plan, that's just beyond what the human brain can do. And here's where things get really interesting. Let's compare. A human scheduler, they work off experience. They focus on the 2 or 3 most important rules and spend hours, maybe even days, coming up with that good enough plan. But an AI scheduler, it's completely data-driven. It can process every single rule, all those dozens of constraints we just saw, all at the same time. It doesn't find a good enough plan, it finds the best possible plan, and it does it in minutes. And when a last-minute emergency order comes in, the AI just adapts and recalculates instantly. And this is the solution. These AI-powered schedulers are like the hidden brain of the modern factory. They take in all of that insane complexity and spit out the perfect production sequence. This is what slashes that expensive downtime, pushes efficiency through the roof, and at the end of the day, make sure that when you go to the store, your favorite product is right there on the shelf waiting for you. So, the next time you pick up a simple bottle of shampoo or sauce or whatever it is, just take a second to remember the incredibly complex puzzle that had to be solved just to get it into your hands. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible, super complex systems are hiding in plain sight, powering the simple things we use every single day?